Welcome to the Doc G Show, a radio show cluster. Without further ado, critics have said he has the face for radio and a voice for silent films. Your host, Ben Doc G Gordon.
And we are on the air. Welcome to the Doc G Show. I'm your host, Doc G. With me, as always, the one, the only, Mikey Maximus Fernicus.
Say what?
Charette.
Doc G, what is good, sir?
Nothing much, man. I was thinking all weekend about your show. Your dominating show in Illinois.
Big deal, big deal.
In the land of Lincoln, man. Just going out there showing those college students what funny is.
Yes.
That is nice. Now, was that Friday night or was that Saturday night?
It was Friday night.
Yeah, Friday night. That's more college right there.
8 o'clock, yep.
Yeah. Now, was that was it at like the Student Center auditorium?
Yeah, it was like some kind of like student union.
Nice.
It was, you know what? It was like a food court, but there was only a Starbucks.
Okay. Okay, that's sort of
but
like...
there was a stage. It wasn't,
That's sort of like
nice.
one of the old schools that I used to work at, actually. That's sort of the same setup. And there was a Starbucks, so nice. Did you enjoy any Starbucks?
I had a shot of espresso right before I went on stage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. How can you not?
That's ballsy. I don't know, man. I feel like that would throw me right there. I couldn't...
I wish I would have done a double, to be honest with you.
I couldn't have that kick, man. I couldn't.
No?
That kick would just... It would... anxious me out, you know. I would just get I would freeze in the middle of the joke and I'd be like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say.
My heart's racing.
I've got too much caffeine.
Red Bull and espresso right before you go on stage is always a nice.
Wow. Yeah. I take a little bit of Oxycontin and that's gets
there you go. Yeah.
I'm lying. That's not the truth, listeners. Drugs are bad. I don't do any drugs, okay? All right. But I did, Mike. Congratulations, first of all. Very good show.
Thank you.
I hear that
Appreciate
it went well. I've already heard through the grapevine on social media the buzz is there, you know?
Yes.
It's spreading like wildfire on the TikToks. They're getting you on the TikToks.
That's right.
Yeah. But Mike, this past Monday, I did a little something that you only do in fall. I watched a little Monday Night Football.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. A little 49ers versus the Jets.
Ah, good game.
Yeah. And I got to say, you do have a pretty striking resemblance to Kyle Shanahan.
Oh, yeah, my brother.
My goodness. Every time they went to the sidelines, I was like, it's Mike. It's Mike over there calling the plays, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, but let me say this, Mike. When you break out the Mike Charette smile, hands down, it's a separator in a good way. Kyle Shanahan doesn't have that smile. He doesn't have he doesn't have the
different.
Mike. When he starts smiling, I'm like, nah, that's a Mike. It's not Mike. But regardless,
thank you, Doc G.
Congratulations on your win as well. You won that game, man. So good job.
Thank you.
But Mike, sometimes we hop on here, and I've got to tell you something about my week, like watching Monday Night Football, and then sometimes I've read something that's grabbed my attention. And I read something this week that also grabbed my attention, so I wanted to bring that up to you as well. I was cruising through the news, and the other day I came across an article from Chowhound.
Chowhound?
And
a dog magazine?
It's a food magazine. You're chowing. You're chowing down. And it's an article titled 13 Meats People Used to Eat but are now illegal in the U.S. And I was like, okay, I sort of want to know what these meats are. But I was a little like, I don't know about you, but when I heard that, Mike, I was like, isn't that like everything that's been alive? Because I feel like at some point in time, someone in the 1600s got hungry enough and was like, well, I guess this raccoon needs to die. I think everything at some point in time was a meal. But,
sure.
Anywho, I decided to take a look. And I want you to take a guess, Mike. See if you can guess one out of the 13. Think about some meat. What do you think? What type of meat do they have on this list?
I don't know, man. Dogs?
Dog is on there. You got
Okay.
one. Dog meat is on there. Which I got to be honest, they didn't really show, they didn't really show evidence that it was being eaten a lot in the U.S. at any time. It was just sort of like, well, this has happened. And you're
There's a lot.
You're like, well, yeah, of course it's happened at some point in time. There's a sicko out there. But, they didn't really have evidence. You got any others? Can you think of any others?
I mean, we're talking exotic, not
well,
very
weird
popular
things, of
meats
course.
now. Yeah,
I mean,
so of course, I'm trying to think of a weird animal to eat. What it's I'm I'm from Florida. I don't know. We eat a lot of animals. Skunks? Is it
that would have been an interesting one, but no skunks. No skunks.
Some beavers, some hedgehogs.
No beavers. No. Apparently, we can still eat beavers. That's fine. Apparently, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
Here's what we have. We have.
Manatees?
No manatees on there either. I got to be honest. The one that probably got me the most on this, owls.
Owls?
Yeah.
Not our friends.
Exactly. I was like...
Friends of the show.
Look at that guy with his big old eyes. I couldn't... There's no way. I mean, just imagine stabbing an owl and him looking up at you like, how could you? How? No. Who? Just so upset, But, I feel like I would have to be really hungry before I turn my knife on an owl. But apparently, owls showed up in gumbo recipes in Louisiana in the 1800s. Yeah. But that one, I was just like, that one got me to a high degree. Another one that got me on this list, and again, this was one that they didn't really explain how much it was going on in the U.S. This is much more a French thing, but it became illegal in the U.S. Have you ever heard of the ortolan bird?
Ortolan? No, I've never heard of this.
The ortolan bird. Now, apparently, I missed out on just the whole discussion about ortolans, because this was all over the internet when I started looking this up, Mike. And Joe Rogan actually talked about this on his podcast 5 years ago, actually. And ortolan is just a little teeny bird. It's like a finch, like that size, just a little teeny bird. And what they do, apparently, this started in France, and they catch the bird, they put it in a cage, and then they cover the cage so it's in darkness. And then apparently when it's in darkness, it will overeat. And then they just feed it grains and fruit until it gets super fat and way too big for its own body, right?
It's terrible.
Yeah. And then they drown it in brandy. Alive.
Ugh.
They put it in brandy and just let it die alive. And then they roast it. And then you eat it whole.
Yeah.
Not only do you eat it whole, but you eat it you're supposed to, as eaten correctly, you're supposed to eat it under a napkin. Like the napkin is supposed to be over you while you eat this bird.
Oh, that's weird.
It is the weirdest crap. Like, I was like, who came up with this shit? Who decided, and all of this, if I were, in a French... If I was in a French chef cooking lesson, I'd be like, why do we have to drown it alive? Why can't we just kill it before we put it in the brandy? Couldn't we just put a little nail in its head and then put it down into the brandy?
I wonder if they think that it drinks the brandy or if it
I don't know, but it's not worth it. It's
You
not
get that
it's,
brandy on the inside.
it's not worth it. And then like, come on, man, it's just so weird. And then you're like, oh, then you put the napkin over top of you. Of course, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
This weird French chef. Here's what this weird French chef said. Chef Michel Girard said, "To eat the flesh, the fat, its little hot bones all together is like being taken to another dimension." You sick perv. That's
gross.
Just disgusting, man.
Yeah, it's terrible, man.
And if you get a chance, listeners, Mike, Google this. Put in ortolan, and you'll be like, yeah, I don't want to eat that thing. It looks disgusting.
Like the bird looks disgusting.
Yeah, it looks like a little roasted bird, like you would think. And you're like, yeah, I don't want to. No, there's no way I'd want to eat that.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Right? Isn't that
that
gross?
Looks so bad.
Like, how would you put that in your mouth? How would you be like, oh, yeah, that looks, I got to try this.
Oh, dude, that's terrible. Okay.
Sick, right? And you're just throwing that whole thing in your mouth. No, Mike. Now, just before we go on so we can clear this up, here's the other things. Horse meat. Abalone.
Horse meat, yeah.
We already mentioned owl. Sea turtle. Any type of animal's lungs, which is known as offal. Not awful as far as AWFUL, but awful as far as OFFEL. But it works well as awful, too, because it's pretty disgusting. Then, let's see, robin meat. I don't know who wants to eat a robin. I've never looked
they're
at
just so small.
Pretty teeny. I'm not putting one of those little toothpick legs in my mouth.
Nope.
No way.
Whale meat.
Well, okay.
Dog meat. Shark fins. Not shark meat, but shark fins. I've heard of shark fin soup, definitely.
Yeah.
Loon meat. Never thought of eating a loon. Yeah. Puffer.
What's the loon?
Loon is it's a bird. It's mainly in the northern, more northern areas of America. It's sort of known as it's really a lake bird. They generally hang around lakes a lot.
Okay.
But yeah, a loon. They have a really frightening bird call. That's why you have that saying "crazy as a loon."
Didn't know that.
But puffer fish. Which, puffer fish, that makes sense. Then the ortolan, and then lastly, bat.
Bats.
Yeah.
Ugh, risky.
Yeah, all of those. I don't know about it. All of those, I'm not a fan. But Mike, there you go. Listeners, if you were planning on eating any of those meats, don't.
So true.
They're illegal now, okay? Don't do it, all right? It's just us, the Doc G Show, looking out for you, all right? So in the meantime, while you reschedule your dinner, plan what you're going to eat now because you can't have your owl like you were going to. Should we fire the show up, Mike?
Let's fire up this show, Doc G.
Woo!
All 3 engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and lift off.
Mike, I am excited. I am very excited. I'm so excited that I left out the X in that first excited. I said excited. I don't know why I did that. But regardless, excited. I'm so excited, man. We have got Carbon Leaf. My goodness.
Carbon Leaf.
Carbon Leaf. Like I said a while back, first time we had him on the show, 2018. We had him in 2019. We have had 5 years since Barry Privett has been on the show. Just such a lovely dude. So nice. He joined us on his vacation, Mike.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. And then he was nice enough to say, hey, talking to you is not the hard part of my job. What?
Thank you.
Thanks, Barry.
Yeah.
But it's great. We talk about the career again. We talk about the new album. We talk about how Theo Vaughn was wearing one of their shirts on his podcast a couple of months back. Pretty nice. So, some free advertising. And then Barry was nice enough to be like, hey, I'd like to get some free advertising on the Doc G Show. And I was like, Barry, that's not going to help you any.
Nope.
That's not that does not have the same pulling power as Theo Vaughn, sadly. Or else I would be in that California coast house I was talking about already. Mm-hmm. I'd be out there instead of this dungeon. Anywho, Mike, I'm very excited about talking to Barry, but first we need to start where we start.
The birthday suit.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
That is correct. I am 98% sure on this one. So here we go. Our birthday suit wearer was born September 11, 1977 in Champaign, Illinois.
Hey.
But he moved to Atlanta when he was 9. When he was 9 years old, and that became his home. Around the same time, he started rapping and never looked back. His first major label album release was Back for the First Time, released in 2000 with the singles What's Your Fantasy and Southern Hospitality. He then released the albums Word of Mouth, which had massive singles Area Codes, Roll Out, Saturday, and Move. He released Chicken and Beer in 2003 and then Red Light District in 2004. In 2010, he was featured on Justin Bieber's Baby, which is one of the biggest selling singles of all time. He's also done some acting in his career, being in Too Fast, Too Furious, Crash, and Gamer. Name that birthday suit wearer.
Ja Rule.
Wait,
What?
Wait, no. Ludacris.
No.
It's Ludacris. I'm sorry. Ludacris. Did I say Ludacris? Yeah, it's Ludacris. My bad. Not Ja Rule.
Jesus.
I got
Ja
confused.
Rule, get out of town. Ja Rule wishes. Yeah. No offense, Ja, but come on. You don't
There was
have...
some overlap in some of these credits, though. I think Ja Rule was maybe
Well,
not.
it's definitely the same time period, that's for sure.
Yeah.
They got a similar sounding voice. I definitely wouldn't give Ja
Ludacris.
though. Ja does not have the flow of Luda at all.
Nope. Yeah.
Luda has a great flow, great rhymes, and Mike, he's turning 47.
There you
47 for Luda. This is a fun fact. His second cousin, Richard Pryor.
go. Cool.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
Yeah.
Richard Pryor.
But anyways, happy birthday, Luda. Mike, are you ready to rip some headlines?
Let's rip some headlines, Doc G.
Mike, I've got Tom Brady news.
Tom Brady news. Let's go.
This is from Bleacher Report. Quote, Tom Brady draws mixed reviews from fans during his broadcasting debut. No way. No way, Mike. I thought it was going to be unanimous. I thought the public decision was going to be everybody loved him. Because that's what normally happens on the internet, right?
Of course.
Everybody has the exact same opinion and agrees.
Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly, I have no idea how he did because I didn't watch. But I could have told you it would have been mixed reviews. It doesn't matter what you say. People are not going to be conclusive.
For sure.
Tom Brady could have killed the game, Mike, and we wouldn't know, okay? Because people would be like, oh, his face is too perfect, so that was sort of stupid.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. You
bother
know,
me.
there's always going to be negative Nancys
Yeah.
out there. Don't worry about it, Tom. You keep going. I saw like 2 minutes of it, actually. I did see a little bit of
What game was it?
it. Dallas versus Cleveland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't a really close game either. That's the thing, is Dallas started blowing them out pretty quickly, so it wasn't too exciting. Okay. Mike, here's a headline from CNN. Quote, they were due to leave for their dream cruise in May. 3 months on, they're still stuck at the departure port.
Huh?
Mike, they should have never let Boeing make cruise ships.
Ah.
Should have never happened, Mike. Apparently, this was not Boeing related though. Apparently, Mike, this is a company called Via V Odyssey. Via V Odyssey, and it actually sounds pretty cool. It's a never-ending cruise. You just go around the world chasing summer. So you just you switch hemispheres when it turns summer, just like I was thinking about with my getaway in South America. Oh. You just go to the other hemisphere and enjoy summer in the other hemisphere, Mike. Which I got to be honest, it sounds really dope if it wasn't on a cruise ship.
So true.
The cruise ship really ruins it for me, Mike.
It does. Yeah.
And it's a pretty small cruise ship. Like, that's the thing. They're trying, they've been trying to fix this cruise ship and make it sailable for the last 3 months, and they haven't passed all of the requirements. And some people have put in an insane amount of money to be on this thing indefinitely. Because you can just rent your spot on there indefinitely. And it's literally $100,000 for a cabin to be on there indefinitely.
Oh,
and I was
forever.
yeah, just to have it forever. I'm guessing you can leave for a while if you want, but still, no.
Not a good idea. That sounds terrible. Have you heard of people living on cruise ships? Because you could live on a cruise ship for less money than you could on land in America, just in general.
Well, I mean, apparently that's the whole sort of deal of this cruise ship. I mean, I know that's what
$100K
you're...
though, $100K. But I'm talking how much is a cruise ship for a couple weeks? I don't know.
Anyways, hopefully, you know where they're ported right now, Mike?
No.
Belfast, Ireland.
Jeez.
Which is a horrible, horrible place to be stuck. No offense, Belfast.
Yeah,
you're cold and gray.
Yeah.
I would not want to be there all summer. Just being I'm waiting for summer in the land of perpetual winter. This is great. No, thank you. Mike, I've got a little... hold on. Don't look at it yet. This story has a picture with it. Okay, so Mike, I've got a little news from Vogue. Here's the headline. Taylor Swift ditches this classic wedding guest dress rule.
Say what?
Yeah. So Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce went to Karen Elson's wedding. I'm not too up on Karen Elson, but apparently she's a real big deal. And a lot of folks went to her wedding. She got married to Lee Foster. And Taylor, the big deal, the reason why she apparently ditched the classic wedding rule, Mike. Classic wedding rule would be wearing something very close to white. Taylor opted for a cream dress, Mike. But that's getting a little too close to white.
It's white. It's off-white.
It's off-white. That's what a lot of people were saying, Mike. But I think the bigger headline is what Travis was wearing. So if you want to take a look at the picture, Mike, somewhere along the way, Travis got the idea that dressing like a mustachioed John Travolta in Grease would be a good look. Look at that, Mike. Look at that picture. Tell me that is not John Travolta in Grease with a mustache. He's missing.
He's got a lot of unbuttoned buttons there.
Yeah, all he's missing is a pack of smokes rolled up in his sleeve there. I was just like, what kind of look is that? If I was Taylor, I would look over there and be like, yeah, let's try that again. Go back. Let's try it again.
No, not good.
Plus, he'd come out of the bathroom and I'd be like, what are you, Johnny Cash? The f*** is all black for, man? We're going to a wedding. What's wrong with you?
Hilarious.
I love black, and I'm not going to be wearing all black. It's a wedding, man. Anywho, Mike, I've got a headline from Washington Post here. Here's the headline. Quote, California city approves industrial park next to one of Earth's oldest trees. End quote. Well, that sounds good, Mike. Industrial parks have historically been great to nature. Am I right? It's essentially like saying California City approves Grim Reaper next to one of the oldest trees on Earth. Like, come on. Come on. Also, I got to ask, how close, Mike? Like, it didn't say, it didn't say. Mm-hmm. Like, are we talking like, is it smudged up right against the fence?
Yeah, that's what in my head, that's what I see.
Just like pushed it
There's
right
just a
over,
fence
like
right next to it.
It's fine. Doesn't get any sun. Nah, it's gonna be good. It's only 5,000 years old, anyways. It's no big deal. Literally, it is almost 5,000 years old. Yeah,
so annoying.
Yeah,
they need to put fences up around the tree.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely, Mike. Mike, I've got a little royal news. I'm going to read you two headlines back to back. And you tell me how you feel about these two headlines back to back. First one, Us Weekly here. Or sorry, Us Weekly. First one, Us Weekly. Quote, Sir Ian McKellen is firmly on Harry's side in royal family feud. So okay. Sir Ian McKellen, the guy from Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. Gandalf, firmly on Harry's side. Now, second headline, quote, Prince Harry isn't bright enough to survive royal life, claims Sir Ian McKellen.
Wait, what?
What? I don't know, Mike. You call me a dumb doesn't really make me think you're on my side. No, you're on my side. He's not super bright, so don't know. Like, what do you mean, too? How bright do you have to be to make it through the royal family? What's that all about?
They tell you what to do.
I don't get that, Mike.
Yeah,
it seems very conflicting, those two.
Well,
it is. Very conflicting.
Yeah.
Mike, this was an interesting. You might have seen this one. This one is all over the news in a bunch of different places. Here's the headline that I saw. Quote, dye found in Doritos turns mouse's skin transparent like magic trick. New study finds. That's the headline. Now, first of all, I know somebody somewhere has already said this, Mike, but that is definitely not what Doritos do to my fingers.
No.
There is no transparency happening there, okay? It is stained orange like I robbed a bank and it was an orange dye bomb that blew up on me. Oh, no! Oh, I didn't get the money. Oh, I can't get it off. You can wash your hands like 5 times. That's still on there.
Yeah.
Second, I love how I saw 5 different headlines on this, Mike, and all of these headlines are talking about this dye like the only place it's found is Doritos. Like Doritos are an exotic plant found in the rainforest, and we're lucky enough to have extracted it out. Like, oh my God, we found this dye. We put it there. We made Doritos. We know what it is. Like, by the way, Mike, the dye is Yellow 5. Yellow 5. That in everything. It's in Gatorade, it's in Twinkies, it's in Mountain Dew, it's in Cheetos, it's in Fritos, it's in cereal. It's in everything. Saying it's found in Doritos makes it sound like it's only found in Doritos. It's kind of like if you had an article and you said, pizza found at Sbarro's. Sure. Right. You can find it at other places besides Sbarro's. Not just that one. Like, come on, man. Yellow 5 is everywhere.
Yeah.
Transparent I don't see how it makes it transparent. Very interesting.
Yeah, how does that work?
I don't know. I didn't get deep enough into the science, Mike. I didn't get deep enough into the science. I should have. But sadly, I did not. That will have to be saved.
I don't want to read anything terrible about Doritos. These are my...
They're delicious, man. Yeah. They're delicious. I saw it. I don't know if you saw that. Kamala Harris was talking about when Trump got elected the first time. She said she was so depressed, she ate a whole bag of family-sized Doritos. And I was like, Kamala, yeah.
That's a good depressed food.
Yeah, man, yeah. I've been there. Not when I'm depressed, but I've definitely gone through a family bag of Doritos before. And I was depressed afterwards. That's, definitely done that. The sweet chili Doritos. Oh, get out of here. Those things are delicious, Mike. Those things are delicious. They're so, the old school chip line, once you pop, you can't stop. It's very true with Doritos. You can't, you have like 2, you're like, I can't stop at 2.
No.
And you just keep going. You just keep mowing them down.
That's why those little tiny bags make me furious.
Oh, it's not enough, man. It is not satisfying. It is not satisfying whatsoever.
Nope.
Mike, we are going to take a break. We are going to be right back. But first, we are going to hear from Carbon Leaf. This is their classic, one of my favorites. What About Everything? Right here on the Doc G Show. And we are back here on the Doc G Show. Spinnaker Radio, WSKRLP 95.5 FM in Jacksonville, Florida. Mike, what do the listeners need to do?
Well, Doc G, if the listeners feel like the show is a positive way to waste their time, they should please subscribe on everything. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud. We are everywhere. And if they are feeling extra generous, listeners, please leave us a 5-star review. We love that. We would love that.
Bingo. Mike, no 5-star, new 5-star reviews this week.
Oh, come on.
I'm a little
That's
upset,
okay.
but it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'll get over it. We do have the regular listeners, you know?
We do. Thank you, regulars.
And I'm going to have to thank them right now. You know what? I'm not even going to go that fast on this. Here we go. Anoka, Minnesota. Shout out to Anoka. Ashburn, Virginia. Piracai, Brazil. San Diego, California. Dublin, Ireland. Boardman, Oregon. Genoa, Italy. I was going slow and I still couldn't get Oregon out. That's so sad. Richardson, Texas. Barcelona, Spain. Winfield, West Virginia. Biloxi, Mississippi. Tulsa, Oklahoma. Peoria, Illinois. Katy, Texas. Toms River, New Jersey. Olive Branch, Mississippi. Asheville, North Carolina. Los Angeles, California. Spartanburg, South Carolina. Athens, Georgia. Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Chicago, Illinois. Boynton, Virginia. Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Columbus, Ohio. Jacksonville, Florida. Columbia, South Carolina. Radford, Virginia. Gainesville, Florida. And Frankfurt, Germany. Shoutouts. There we go, Mike.
Cool.
Those are the ride or dies, Mike.
Yep.
Those are the ride or dies. They're here. They're with us, and we appreciate that they're with us.
We do.
Hey, the folks in Los Angeles, if you could do some scouting work for me, go up the coast, look at a couple of these houses for me, see if they're worth my time.
So
true. Give me a little feedback on them. All right, I'd appreciate that. Be nice, Mike. By the way, I would like to mention, we had a good number of listens this week on most of our services, Mike.
Cool.
I wouldn't say it was out of the ordinary. It was about the normal, couple thousand listens. Thank you for all the listens, folks. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
But I will say this is a little annoying. I noticed your post on Instagram of the show with none other than Mr. Gavin Rossdale was liked by many more people than most of our shows are. And there were no extra listens. And I was like, gang, don't just like his face. Go listen to the show, you turds. Okay? If you're going to like our picture, okay, go listen to the show. All right? It's just a little upsetting. That's what I'd just like to point out. Because, normally nobody pays attention to when we post our debut of the show. Mm-hmm. And this one, we released that, and everybody's like, yeah, sure, I'll like that, but I'm not going to listen to it. That's ridiculous, Mike.
Yeah, it is.
Get yourself together. Come on. Not you,
Good
listeners.
interview. Good show.
We're preaching to the choir, listeners. Not you guys. I'm talking to those social media goons out there.
Yeah.
You know, those people. Anyways,
They do need to allow you to put links in your captions.
That's true.
This is so stupid.
Right?
That you can't do that.
Yeah.
That's come on.
I agree. Because people aren't going to put in the legwork. You know?
No.
Now they can. I mean, and that's what's good for the story. I know there's somebody out there saying,
but they used to not have that on the story too. They used to not let you put links. Then they finally started allowing links.
And then most people don't look at the stories though. You know, that's the thing. Is like there's way too many stories. Nobody's looking at those stories.
They need to find a better way to organize it.
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah. You know.
Come on.
Anyways, Mike, we need to thank the 4 stars. So first on the 4 stars, the 305. Miami, Florida. There we go. Shout out to Miami. First off, not first off, because first off was Miami. Second off, shout out to Kennesaw, Georgia. Shout out to Kennesaw. Yeah, not bad. Falkenstein, Germany. Shout out to Falkenstein. Shout out to Weston, Florida. You know Weston, Mike?
Weston. It's familiar. Where is that? What part of?
Just right across the way from Fort Lauderdale. It's west of Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just inland there.
Gotcha.
It's a very suburby place. It's very nice. Orange Park, right outside of Jacksonville. Shout out to you guys. Mountain View, California. Shout out to you guys. Prineville, Oregon. Shout out to you guys. Let's see, Seattle, Washington. Shout out to you. Here we go.
Seattle, what's up?
Yeah, just the straight up, Mike. London, England. There we go. Shout out to you guys. Coon Rapids, Minnesota. Shout out to you guys. San Francisco, California. Shout out to you guys. Charleston, South Carolina. Shout out to you guys. Mount Vernon, Virginia. Shout out to you guys. And Alpharetta, Georgia. Shout out to you guys. Raleigh, North Carolina. Shout out to you. Montreal, Canada. Shout out to you. Toronto, Canada. Shout out to you guys. Yeah, Canna.
Thank you, Toronto.
Canna sounds like some kind of short, trying to be hip nickname for cannabis. Mm-hmm. Got any canna? Yeah. Yeah, I hit that canna. Yeah. Lastly, Auckland, New Zealand. Shout out to you guys. There we go, Mike. Good 4-star listens. We expect you all to be 5 stars in a few weeks. Okay.
We do.
We expect it. Listeners, we are going to take a break. We are going to be right back with none other than Barry Privett of Carbon Leaf right here on the Doc G Show.
The Doc G Show. Because sometimes you need something playing in the background. Every Wednesday at 7 p.m. on 99.5 FM, Spinnaker.
This is 95.5 Spinnaker Radio. WSKR-LP-FM, UNF Jacksonville.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. We are happy to be welcoming a returning guest, lead singer of the fantastic group Carbon Leaf. They have their new album, Time is the Playground, coming out September 27th. We have the one and the only, Mr. Barry Privett. Barry, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you for having me back, man. Appreciate it.
Of course. Now, looking at your schedule the way it normally is, you guys tour so much. It usually seems like summer is a little bit of a recouping time, especially August, but you have the new album coming out next month. Did you get a chance to relax this summer?
Man, you see, right now I am on vacation.
Yes.
I'm in my my bedroom has a fold out desk that I am on right now in between in between two beds.
I love it.
And there's an ocean 150 yards right there. And
there we go.
But I have not actually been on the beach as of yet, and I've been here for 2 weeks.
See, people like me are forcing you to have to promote this new album. You can't get a chance to relax, get out to the beach there.
This is the easiest part of my day. It's putting out records is really hard. I keep waiting for it to get easier, and there's so much going on. It's a bottleneck, like you said, with the tour. The tour starts, in mid-September, which it's a month away, but it's still it's just a race to the stage at this point.
Yeah.
Just getting everything set up, and it's nuts. So I'm glad to take a break and just chat.
Well, for the listeners that are not longtime listeners, we've got a couple of those, but Barry was on the show last I checked, 2019. So it has been over 5 years, which before we came on, you said, man, I can't believe it. And I was like, I know. It's pre-pandemic was the last time you were on the show. You guys have released Songs by the Sea. You've released the Hunting Ground EP.
Gathering 1.
Exactly. And you spent a couple of years with this new album. I mean, it's fairly difficult to sum up 5 years, but how has it been? How has the last 5 years? Obviously, there was a rough patch in there.
Yeah, it's actually not that difficult to sum it up. 2019 was like the last great year, I felt like, and then we launched this project in 2020, really kind of as the pandemic was really just starting to take root. We had kind of planned to do it, so I put together the stuff in March, April, May, June, and thinking that the pandemic would not last as long as it did. And so as soon as we launched it, it just became clear that I wasn't going to be able to just jump into writing mode yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so we spent, a couple of years there just focused on the pandemic and readjusting and canceling our planned tours. Cause we book a year in advance, right? So we canceled a tour and then we rebooked it. And then we canceled that one and we rebooked it again, so there was a lot of that. And then finally I was like, I've just got to get away and get the writing done. Mm-hmm. And so I spent kind of a year and a half, in 4 different writing sessions in between pandemic stuff and getting back into tour. And then of course we had to, record the songs and then mix them down. And, when you're doing all that, with your team, in between family stuff and crises and all that, before you know it, it's 5 years. Crazy.
Well, I mean, I think it's very safe to say that your bread and butter as Carbon Leaf for the past, 20 years has been touring. I mean, that's where you connect with your fans. That's where you guys make your money. That's it. And I mean, looking at your schedule, it's like 80 to 100 shows a year in a good year. And all of a sudden you're not doing any. I'm guessing that had to freak you out at the start of the pandemic. Like, what are we gonna do? How did you guys get a grip on that?
Yeah. You start getting creative and you start, you do start getting jazzed by, all right, look, let's think, let's let's figure it out. Let's do drive-in concerts, and let's do, the live streams. And so, you get behind that, and then you're buoyed by the fact that fans are like into that, and everybody's in it together in some respect.
Yeah.
The band, the fans, so everybody's looking for a connection.
Yeah.
An outlet. And
Yeah.
so where there's a perceived problem, there's some kind of opportunity that can open a different door. Not quite the same, but and it took a lot of work,
Yeah.
But yeah, so we were fortunate enough to at least do something that could bring in kind of your income, and
Yeah.
we didn't skip any payroll, and made it through.
How long was the time between shows? Do you remember? Like, I mean, obviously you guys, I think you canceled 3 or so shows at the very end, or at the very end of a tour going into the pandemic.
Yeah.
How long was it until you had an actual live show?
Yeah, I mean, we were on a tour when the pandemic broke, and it was kind of chasing across the country, and we had 3 shows left in, I think, Massachusetts and New Hampshire. And Massachusetts, the whole state just shut down, and so we were at a rest stop just waiting word, and it was like, well, not only is the venue not opening, the whole state's shutting down. So we just got in the bus and went home. So I'm trying to think of, and then we just went immediately into quarantine. So that was March. That was, so for March, April, May, I don't think we really got into any kind of, I think we probably did a live stream at some point, maybe in the spring or summertime. And then some, there were some drive-in shows and some social distance shows, but yeah, I think everything kind of canceled for 5 or 6 months there. And then we only did like maybe 20 shows for a year, I think. So,
but you got back into it in 2021.
We got back into it a little bit, and started crawling out towards the back end, and then 2022, but it was rough. I mean, people weren't showing up. It was It was some things were open, but people weren't risking it. So you would have like a 60% drop count. And then last year was pretty good, and then hopefully 2024 will be pretty good. So it's
getting back there.
It's a little mind numbing, you kind of stop watching the clock after a while, you're just responding to orders.
Well, I saw a couple of weeks ago, the band posted on Instagram the Shazam numbers, and you had this like spike in Shazam, and I started thinking about it, and I feel like you guys are a great example of one of those bands that a lot of people have probably heard one of your big songs. They probably heard The Boxer, or What About Everything, or Life Less Ordinary, and not know it's you, not know like that's the band. And I was wondering, how many times do you get that scenario where you meet somebody, they ask you like what you do, you tell them you're in a band, they don't know the band, and then they hear the song and they go, oh, I know that song. Right.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. Or you also get like, they meet you and you tell them, I'm an artist and this or that. And you're like, kind of finally like, yeah, it's Carbon Leaf. And then they know the band, the name, but they don't recognize you from them. You know what I mean? You're just which is great.
Well, I mean, sort of going along with that, I noticed also, it was about a year ago, Theo Vaughn, the comedian, podcast extraordinaire, he's millions of listeners on his show. He was wearing a Carbon Leaf shirt.
Yeah.
Did you know he was a fan?
Yeah, I think John, our bassist, is kind of buddies with them, but some association, and slipped him a shirt. So it's kind of anything like that. It's fun and helps.
Yeah. Well, I was about to say, I mean, get him a licensing deal for one of your songs on the show.
I'll have to ship you some T-shirts so you can
start putting it there instead of I don't think Jordan needs any more advertising. I don't think he needs it like
your mic is perfectly covering it up. So it's
that was the whole idea. I was like, we can't advertise anymore.
Can't afford the licensing, right?
Well, now let's enough of all this shenanigans pandemic talk. Let's talk about the main event. This new album.
Yeah.
First full-length album since Constellation Prize.
Right. 2013.
That's crazy. That's crazy to think. Now, obviously, like we mentioned, you've released EPs, The Gathering, The Hunting Ground. I was wondering when I put that down, as an artist, what spurs you to think I'm going to put out a couple of EPs versus an album? Like what separates it?
Well, so in 2013, so between 2010 and 2013, we released like a music project every 8 months. Mm-hmm. It was something we had in our mind that we were going to try, and we were doing it. And then in 2013, I was like, let's release 2 full-length albums back to back, 6 months apart, which was, in hindsight, just too much. It was a mistake. We should have just, separated things, but we were just on a kick. And when we finished that, I was, we were justifiably just burnt out. And I was like, I can't write anything new right now. And so the last 10 years has been actually very busy. So since then we re-recorded the 3 Vanguard Records albums, and then we did the 2 EPs, and then we did a 27 song live Blu-ray. There's been projects, just not a 12 songer,
Yeah.
And I guess and so certainly it was time. And the more importantly, it's like 12 songs. I don't want to just put together 12 songs. Like I want an idea,
right?
And so this idea had been gestating for a while, of going into the vault and finding pieces of music that we'd recorded, and there's either pieces, it's kind of a boneyard, like stuff I love but I haven't finished, or I have an idea, but I haven't been able to like punch my way through the story. Now I was like, let's collect all those and make a playlist, and then let's add a few new things. And before long, I was like thinking about time and all of these demos that we have that are unfinished, waiting for me to write lyrics to. We have like 800 to 900 of these things. I mean, it could be just a guitar riff, or it could be like the whole band playing, or it could be a sound thing. So there's plenty of ideas, but there's only so much time, and so I started thinking about that. And so all the songs really ruminate on time, and the fact that your life can go in any single direction along in any single direction, but there's like only one timeline, but you could live a life in any of those directions. It kind of started blowing my mind. And so I don't know, I wanted something that harkened back to some early demos from the band, like Back Mass 1983 is a demo that was started like 12 or 15 years ago. And
wow.
There's stuff that on the album that was recorded on a cassette tape in our basement, and just I liked the idea of mixing the old with the new, and then just contemporizing it, and that's where Time Is the Playground was born.
It is wild, in my head, the way when you were talking about Time Is Playground, and that's what it made me think of is like anybody, whenever you visit one of those old vaults, like I mean, you can watch a video of yourself, or you can listen to a song that you made, or anything like that. It automatically conjures up this different life all of a sudden, like you just feel all of those things that you're thinking about at that time, and you think about all of that. And I'm guessing, as far as like listening to those demos, some of those you remember of going, oh yeah,
Absolutely.
that, like, and so you just got this. It's like you said, it's these different trajectories of all these, and it feels like this completely different place that that you're at, in each one of those. When you talk about all of them coming from older songs, not all of them, but a lot of the older demos and whatnot, do you remember what the oldest thing that actually made it to this new album? What was like the oldest part that you used for this album?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm trying to look for the track title. Well, Backmask is certainly an older one. There's one called Catching Windmill. There's one called
well, is California Gold one of the older ones, or is that a new idea?
So that's a new idea.
Okay.
So Time is the Playground is old. Backmask, the original demos, a fairly older one. And then, but like Neon Signs is new. You and Me is new. City by the Sea it was a very old demo. Probably, another like 12 years old. Nice. So yeah, I would say the oldest stuff is really kind of like pushing 15 years, but some of it's 7, 8, 9 years.
Now was it just a choice of like what you felt was like the best as far as those older songs, or was it that you felt like they had a connection between each other as far as choosing them for this?
I definitely wanted, and again, like nothing was really written. I had either a theme or a melody or a couple of lines on all this stuff, or there's a few of them that went through at least 10 drafts of completely different ideas. Catching Windmill is, if I look at my iTunes, there's a song. If I look at my playlist on iTunes, that's the song that got played the most because I kept working on it, getting it mostly done, and then hating it and then starting over. So as I was pulling up some of those things from the boneyard and like stuff that I love, they're not B-sides, they're stuff I loved, and then I wanted to bring those up, and then I wanted to have them sonically kind of feel also like they were related. And so when I started with 50 of these, and then I pared them down to like those 12 that made it onto the record. Yeah, because they felt like they worked together musically, and I wanted this album to just have some sonic muscle to it and some atmosphere, and I wanted electric guitars. I didn't want like acoustic folk stuff. And the album starts with kind of an acoustic guitar, but then it kind of like, that's it. It's kind of gets into, kind of Carter's pedal world, and, it's the swirlier affair. So, yeah.
Well, I love the guitar on California Gold is that it's probably one of my favorite sounds on the album there. Nice. It's just it's a good blend. It has sort of a classic sound to it, but it has a new sound to it too. I really enjoy it.
There's a story behind that, but I have to hold my tongue until it's out. Okay. And then we can follow back up with that.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the song that's already out there. Listeners can hear it. You can listen to it anytime you want. Backmask 1983. Now, for the listeners unaware, backmasking, putting a hidden message into a song that when you play it in reverse, you hear the message. I think most people always point to Zeppelin on Stairway to Heaven, the secret devil codes in there. Right. Is that where the idea started for the song, or was it something like you had a riff or something else, and then that's what you started putting on it as far as lyrics?
Yeah, so that was the demo. To me, was like a cross between AC/DC and the Cars, which really brought me to like the early '80s, right? And so, just working backwards, I was like, this sounds like it could be something fun in that era. And I'm like, well, in that kind of coincided with my transition from being an adolescent to a teenager, and I turned 13 in '83, and so I also experienced a lot, in that time, satanic panic was like a real thing, and a lot of adults were freaking out about backward masking, and bands like Kiss, even though it's rock and roll kabuki, right? It's like it's theater, right? But people didn't take it that way.
Yeah.
And so without having internet, or without having a whole lot of distribution channels to absorb art and culture, it left a lot up to the imagination, and people, and if you saw a show on TV with a reporter that was taking it seriously, a lot of people took things seriously, and
it runs wild. Yeah.
Runs wild. So I wanted to throw all those things into the pot, about it's not a song about satanic panic, but it's kind of basically saying, it's a transition into, you're leaving your youth behind, which is very familiar. And there's a lot of things about that are mysterious that you love, but you're also stepping into this new life as a teenager. You have all this incoming, and so I wanted to use the backmasking as a way of saying, this was like the sweet spot where you had a little bit of your youth, you had all this new exciting thing ahead of you, and you were like fully present in that moment.
Yeah.
And how exciting a time it can be, and then, but because before long, these things that, that hit you in ways you weren't prepared, that make you into an adult,
Yeah.
So that's just kind of where that kind of came from. That's that whole.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now to me, this, I was going back, I was listening to it a bunch, and it sort of hit me, and I don't know if you meant it this way. It would make total sense to me, but the bigger idea is when you're in the moment of 1983, when you're living it, it means one thing. You feel one thing, you're fully present. But when you look back at it now, it means a whole different thing. You're backmasking that memory. It completely changes.
Yeah. And I mean, nothing is a better time, machine than listening to a song, like you were saying earlier, from like a different era that just takes you back. And I wanted to capture some of that essence and spirit in the song, because it's fun for me to kind of like pull that up and sing, night after night, right?
Well, now I'm guessing you can't tell us this, but did you hit us with any backmasking Easter eggs on this track? Maybe.
I don't recall.
Well, you mentioned it. You mentioned it before. The song, it's high energy. It starts out. It's got the open hi-hat, 4 on the floor, distorted guitars. So that was, I mean, when you came back, you revisited the song. That was always the point. Like, you wanted to keep that in for sure. You wanted to highlight that.
Yeah. Even though it's kind of like, it's atypical of our sound. The goal was to make it a Carbon Leaf song. It's like, it's like, okay, well, this isn't normally what we do, but I think it does sound like a Carbon Leaf song.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it just feels like, to me, it feels like a high energy Carbon Leaf, just a little bit extra, a
little bit extra,
Well, when the writing process, going through all the things that you were talking about, going down those memories of 1983, the different like little the little mentions here and there, the Farrah Fawcett, the other things like that.
Yeah.
It's got to be fun running through the memories a little bit when you're writing it.
It is. I mean, I didn't have any shortage of material, so it was a fight to kind of like get your point across without it just being. I didn't want it just to be a nostalgic laundry list.
Yeah. Yeah.
The idea is that there's these things that impact you with their mystery. It's like figuring it out wasn't the point. The mystery was the point. And those things that just draw you into possibility. So it's really a song about celebrating, like, your desire to want to believe in something, to have something on the other side that is just as we get older, you get less and less of that. You know what I mean? And so it's a little bit of a lament, and a little bit of a celebration of, being kind of just a wide-eyed, I want to believe.
Yeah.
Kind of,
Yeah. Well, yeah. You mentioned the Farrah Fawcett poster. Was that the classic? Is that the 76 red swimsuit?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh man, classic.
Yep. I did. That's the true one. I had that on the back of my door.
that's about as good a poster as can be. I think that's about as classic a poster as there is, honestly.
Totally.
Well, now I think it's about a week ago, you guys put up a Billboard chart from August of '83. I mean, some bangers on that list. You had Sweet Dreams, Eurythmics was at the top. Donna Summers, Stand Back, Stevie Nicks, Electric Avenue, Eddie Grant. Yeah, Prince 99 was on there. How tuned in to music were you in '83? I mean, were you all over that board, or were you in one genre? What were you doing in '83?
I was just kind of average kid. It's like what's on the radio is kind of what you know. You know what I mean? Otherwise, I kind of, from the years prior, it was just kind of like the Beach Boys and the Monkees, and you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that kind of thing. So I wasn't really,
hadn't clued in now.
No, I hadn't. Yeah. I was just outside playing, and I was like a movie kid, and I was making monster masks and things like that. I was just doing that kind of stuff,
When did like the real started zeroing in on music, on different artists? When did that happen?
Yeah, I think a little bit kind of in later high school and into college, but I've never been like huge just like listening to music all the time, you know what I mean?
It's more your music, less others.
I would love more time to do that. I can't listen to music and then like or work or multitask. It's like, because then I'll just start listening to it.
Yeah.
And so it's hard. So a lot of times if I'm actively listening to music, it's like stuff I got to write to.
Yeah. No, yeah. I'm definitely the same way. I'm always amazed when people can just put music on in the background, like doing something like cleaning or driving. Yeah, that's one thing. But like, yeah, when you're like working on something and people have music, I'm like, how do you not get distracted? How are you doing that?
Yeah, I can do jazz, I can do classical. It's pretty much instrumental stuff. Otherwise, if it's rock songs or music, I'm just like listening to lyrics, or I'm picking a production apart,
Well, I've got a little quiz for you. Just 2 questions from 1983.
Okay.
To see if we can nail these. So the first one, can you guess the most popular single of 1983 according to Billboard?
Well, it was Every Breath You Take, I believe. Was it not? Okay.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
And that's apparently the most played a song on the radio in the world.
It is. And it's the reason why Puff Daddy owes Sting so much money all the time for his.
It's good to be Sting.
It's not a bad deal. No. And he wrote that. He wrote that in I want to say it was in the Caribbean. He wrote it on because they play it on Sirius XM all the time on a station, and he's talking about when he played it or when he wrote it.
Yeah, Ian Fleming, who wrote the James Bond novels, had a bungalow.
Yeah,
and he stayed in that bungalow and wrote that and a few other big hits. So not a bad vacation.
It's productive, very productive to set down and come up with that.
Yeah.
Well, best-selling album of 1983 according to Billboard.
Thriller came out in 84, didn't it? Best-selling album of 83.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be Purple Rain.
You were there. You were there with your first one. Thriller came out in November of 82. November of 82.
Oh,
so it sold 15 million copies in 83. 15 million copies, which not a bad record.
It's such a good record.
There's so many hits. We did the what was that? That was about 3 months ago on the show. We have a top 3. We do a top 3 of just random things, and randomly we got to Michael Jackson, top 3 Michael Jackson songs, and that was the thing. I was like, it's so hard to do top 3 of the Thriller album by itself. Got all these other albums to go from.
Yeah.
So anyways, back to the new album. Fans have heard Back Mask, or if they haven't, they need to go listen to Back Mask 1983. What song are you most excited about releasing? You don't have to think it's the best, but which song on the album are you like, I can't wait until the album comes out for that song?
That's a good question because, you can be excited about certain songs and then they fall flat. And then there's others that you just think are B-sides. And then all of a sudden people are like really responding to. So it's going to be exciting to see.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm excited for Back Mask just because it's just a fun energy song, like you said. I like California Gold for the opposite reason. You know what I mean? California Gold.
Mm-hmm.
I like Time is the Playground, the title track.
Mm-hmm.
There's some songs I'm scared of because we haven't even rehearsed them yet, and there's just gobs of vocals, and I'm like, how are we going to pull this off? So it'll be interesting. I'm excited to play all these. I love all of them. Monday night in Germantown is I'm interested to play. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, for the listeners, I'm going to tell them since I got this secret sneak peek to the album, I'm telling listeners to go for California Gold. That's
right on. Is that the hit?
That's my favorite from the album so far.
That's John. That's our bassist's favorite too.
Nice.
And we'll have to do a follow-up once it's out, maybe from the road or something, and we can talk about see how things are going. Maybe over the holidays or something. Be good.
I like it because I will say I need to dig a little bit more into the songs. I just saw I forget what it was. I saw something you said about the song, and that was one of the first that when I had the list of songs, I clicked on it and it was just like I was hooked on it. That and Back Mask 1983. I was going back and forth between both of them.
Yeah. But I'd like to release that as a single. We'll see.
I think so. I think you need to. Listeners, you need to get excited for September 27th. Get ready to listen to it. But Barry, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I'm so glad we got to talk to you again. Be back on the show. Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it, Doc. Appreciate the exposure.
Of course. Listeners, make sure you check them out on tour, which starts in earnest. They got a show on the 1st, but in earnest it starts the 25th. And then make sure to check out the album Time is the Playground, which comes out September 27th. Right now, let's take a listen to Back Mask 1983 right here on the Doc G Show. And we are back here on the Doc G Show. You just heard Barry Privett of Carbon Leaf, Mike. Fantastic. Yep. Great new album they got there. Just Time is the Playground. Just a fantastic album. And, I love the new single.
So true.
Back Mask 1983. Just good stuff. 1983. Solid year, you know?
Yeah.
I was not alive in 1983, but I feel like that was, that was a solid mix between 70s and 80s, you know? You got that wash. You're still there. Obviously, you're solidly in the 80s, but you still got some influence from the 70s, you know? Now, do you know what backmask is? We talked about this in the interview, but I know you didn't hear it. Do you know what backmask is?
No, I don't.
It's where a artist will put a secret message in a song, and when you play it backwards, you can hear it. Backmask.
Yeah, it didn't like Led Zeppelin or
that was the most famous one that people always said was in Stairway to Heaven, that there was these claims that they were worshiping Satan and whatnot, which definitely not true. You go back and listen to it. That's the biggest pile of horse.
If you listen to it backwards?
Yes, you have to listen to it backwards.
I mean, but if you listen to anything backwards, it sounds pretty weird.
Yeah, and that's the thing is if somebody tells you that you're hearing this particular thing, you can hear it. You're like, oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the same thing with Led Zeppelin. That's what happened with Led Zeppelin. But that's...
It's like if you take an image and you put it in negative, you're
going to see some weird things. Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. But, I mean, there was a lot of that going on back then, Mike. There was a lot of phobia, in the early 80s of oh no, this rock group did it, this theories. Did it, And, when you're a kid and you're a youngster like that, you want to see that craziness. You're like, we're going to play it backwards.
How do you play it backwards, though? Like, how do you even get the...
Well, back in the day, it was a lot easier. When you had a vinyl, all you had to do was move the vinyl backwards, and you can hear it.
Okay.
And pretty much every single turntable has a reverse speed. You just put it in reverse. Okay. And even if it doesn't have that, all you got to do is keep the needle down and move it at a steady pace, and you can do it backwards.
I got you.
So
Spotify should have that function.
They should. They should. That is something they are failing on their streaming service, Mike.
Come on, Spotify.
The vinyl speed. That would be pretty fun. You could just have fun with it, man. That'd be They should do that. They should have, because they have that a lot on back in the day. I don't know if you remember Winamps. You had you could get these MP3 players that you had a lot of function like that. You could get little fake turntables and things and put in.
Yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah.
They should do that. What are you doing?
And then I wonder what a song would sound like if there's no lyrics, so you don't have that. And then you play it in reverse because it's all patterns.
Yeah.
So it would have I don't know.
Oh, they sound weird. Yeah,
it just sounds weird no matter what.
It sounds weird, man. But regardless, I asked Barry in that if he had any secret sounds in Backmask 1983. He would not divulge. He wouldn't tell us. He wouldn't tell us.
I wonder if there's a palindrome version of a song, so if you play it backwards and you could, I don't know anything about music theory, but if there's a way for you to create the song backwards and forwards and it would sound the same.
It would have to be an extremely simple song. Or you would have to be an extreme genius to come up with that. Because it would be, that'd be pretty hard. But I mean, you could definitely do it simple, with simple songs.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it would for it to actually sound like a normal song on the radio. backwards and forwards. No, that's crazy.
No way.
All right, Mike, we need to move on, but first, thanks to Barry, hopefully he comes on real soon, maybe even next year. Who knows? Maybe before then. Actually, we mentioned it in the interview. He could come on around the holidays to talk about the new single, so might happen. But, Mike, we need to move on to the fastest growing segment in the world.
Mike's the top 3.
Woo! Woo! I'm excited for this one, Mike. We brought this one up at the beginning of the show last week. Favorite food court locations. My goodness, Mike. I did this sort of the real deal, you know. I did this in this way. I basically just thought about my old school life. And I was like, what all malls did I go to? And there are really about 4 malls that I regularly went to with some regularity, you know? There was one that I went to a bunch, then 2 that I went to like maybe once a month or every 2 months, you know? And then there was one that I went to like once a year. And that was the big deal one, way away from my house. That was, it was big timing. It had 2 mall areas, Mike. You went through the J.C. Penney's, and another mall was on the other effing side.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's different.
It was pretty crazy. None other than Haynes Mall in Winston-Salem, Mike. Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Big time mall.
Interesting.
Anywho, so I was thinking about this, though, when I was going back through my food court days, Mike. And I was thinking one of the malls that I regularly go to, it didn't really have a designated food court. It was kind of weird. Just like the stuff was just spread throughout the mall. It's a little chaos. Like the Chick-fil-A was just by itself. The cookie store was just by itself.
Like another store.
Yeah. No, just like right beside, like, you know, the Gap.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the Pizza Hut was right beside the Abercrombie & Fitch.
That's so weird.
You've got personal pan pizzas wafting in from the right and fierce cologne wafting in from the left. And you're just like, oh, it's insanity. I can't take it. Like, it's just too much, man. That fierce cologne is strong.
Yeah, it is.
But I'll say I like it, Mike. I'll say I like it.
I actually don't mind the smell
I like
of
it.
Abercrombie
It's a good. It never ruined. Now Hollister, I didn't like as
unpopular opinion, by the way.
I know. Hollister, I didn't like as much, but Abercrombie never got old on me. Still liked it. I'd go buy it. And now, granted, like I said, it's too strong. Sometimes I'd go by and I'd be like, Jesus Christ, but still pretty good smell. Anyways, Mike. Let's see. Do you have any honorable mentions?
Nah, nothing.
Okay, so I've got several honorable mentions. First off, Haagen-Dazs.
Haagen-Dazs. Of course, you love the shake. I remember.
That shake, Mike. The Belgian chocolate shake. So good. So good, Mike. And I mean, now, that was one of those, you know, at the end of the night, you can hit up a little Haagen-Dazs. My God, is that a treat for a mall run? Woo!
Yeah.
Woo!
That's
now,
right.
This one, me and my brother were talking this this weekend because I told him this was the topic, Mike, and he actually brought up something that's very true. The food court is essentially like a smaller version of an airport. You know, as far as like the food selections in the airport. You know, because he was like, you could basically do the same thing, top 3 food locations in an airport. And I was like, that's true. And
that is true.
This is one of his favorite from the airport. That's one of my favorite from the mall. Aunt Annie's Pretzels.
Of course.
Oh, so good.
Not usually located near the food court.
No,
it wants to be differentiated.
It's one of the oddities too. Yes, it does. It does go off by itself a lot of times. Okay, then one of my other honorable mentions, Taco Bell. Honorable mention. It's not always in there. That's a little bit of a rarity in some malls, but it's good. It is good. Now, last one. This is a toughie for me, and I wanted to put it in the top 3, but Chick-fil-A. I mean, I feel like it should be in the top 3 because, like I said, like I told you last week, it was one of the spots for me at the mall was Chick-fil-A. But I got to put it number 3 because the other 3 are just bigger for me. They're more. There's more nostalgia in them.
Okay.
They were more of my go-to when I went to the mall. So even though Chick-fil-A, that was very hard. Chick-fil-A, you were very close to a number 3, man. Yes. But okay, my number 3. Let's see. My number 3. Sbarro's.
Sbarro's.
Love it, Mike.
Yeah.
My God. Yeah. Where do you think Sbarro's started?
That's a fantastic question. I want to say New York City.
Brooklyn.
Wow.
Brooklyn.
They're everywhere in New York. They are everywhere.
It actually was a New York pizza place. Like I thought, it was probably like Wisconsin, and they just infiltrated,
Yeah.
But no, New York. New York, one of the most popular locations in the New York in the Trade Center. The World Trade Center. Both of them sadly during 9/11. Which is today, they lost those 2 Sbarro's locations. Crazy. It's wild.
Yeah.
So I was looking these up, and I was like, what? Whoa. It's crazy. But Sbarro's, man, it's like we were talking about before, man. You went to Sbarro's in the food court. They had the pizzas lined out,
Great
man.
presentation.
Yeah. And I remember, that was, when I was a kid, and I was gonna go to the movies at the mall, and I got food before we went to the movies. And I was like, I'm getting Sbarro's. I'm getting a 2 pieces of pepperoni pizza.
Yeah.
And then if I got crazy, I might get a garlic knot or something else with it, one of the accoutrements they had. And just the red, white, green cup. And I was like, oh yeah. It's just so good, Mike. And it's so fun when they got the slice on the big old pizza flipper and they put it into the big old oven, and you're like, oh.
That's where they're doing
it. Yeah, you're like, that's mine. I see it. That's mine. It's coming out. They put it on the piece of the paper plate, and it just turns to instant grease, and you're like, yeah, that's going in me, Just so many good things, Mike. But anyways, Sbarro's number 1 or number 3 on my list. Number 3 for you, Mike.
Number 3 for me, it's actually Taco Bell.
Woo! Woo!
Taco Bell. I mean, growing up, went to the Eagle Ridge Mall. That was the only mall where I lived. And they had Taco Bell. And that's actually where I was introduced to Taco Bell.
I love it.
I mean, this is where...
See, I was introduced to a standalone Taco Bell. My mom got me on that standalone Taco Bell. She introduced me to those Taco Supremes, those soft shell Taco Supremes. And I was like, oh, man. These are like golden bullets right here. Let's just get these things down, man.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something, listeners. Just like when we talked about Selena Gomez, I celebrate the whole catalog. Everything on that menu.
Yeah.
I've been through it all. Doesn't matter what it is. I've had it. I have had it. Mike, do you remember back in the day? Do you remember the BLT tacos they had?
I don't think so. I mean, vaguely.
They had BLT tacos. They were the most fat things you've ever seen because all they were their soft shell taco with just bacon in it, and then a bunch of sour cream, and then tomato and lettuce. And that was it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they were so good. Oh, man, they were so good. I used to hit those up so often.
They got to bring those back.
They took 10 years off my life. They were so great. They were so great.
You know what? I got time to spare. I might make some BLT tacos.
Oh, they were so good, man. They were so. And then there the steak supreme soft shell tacos. Oh, get out of town. They had the little steak supreme sauce on there. Oh, And then, of course, the classics. Everybody, the Mexican pizza. Who doesn't love the Mexican pizza? You know? Now, again, just like Selena Gomez, Crunch Wrap, Junior High. Get out of there with that crap. I'm going to all the other stuff, you know? The Nachos Bel Grande. You know it. You know it. God, man. Taco Bell. Right now, I could
Lots of good stuff.
I could put a hurtin' on Taco Bell right now.
Yeah.
I could go there. Listeners, don't doubt me when I say this. I could spend $30 at Taco Bell right now and eat everything that I spent $30 on. That's one of the offensive things for me with Taco Bell, Mike, is when somebody's like, well, the awesome part is like you've only got to get like $5 and you're full. I'm like, who does that?
Yeah, no.
Spend like
not anymore. It's like way more expensive now.
Well, I mean, even before it was more expensive. I was spending like $20 and being like, all I got was 15 tacos. I don't know. I don't know if this is gonna fill me up or not. This is gonna try. Mike, my number 2.
What's your number 2?
This is a total local yokel thing. No one else will have this one. But in the mall that I went to the most, this was the mall that I went with my grandma all the time when I was a young buck, right? When I was like, 5 to 12 years old, and my grandma would take me to the mall during the summer, and like we'd go to eat, we'd play in the arcade, maybe go see a matinee movie, just all the fun stuff you do with your grandma. We would go to the corn dog place, Mike. I don't even know the name. It was a corn dog place in the food court. They just served corn dogs.
Sweet.
And my grandma loved it. It was like her favorite place. She would like convince me and my brother. She'd be like, what were we thinking for lunch? And me and my brother would be like, Sbarro's. And she'd be like, at the corn dog place, right? Like maybe a corn dog? Like, I mean, how many times have you had pizza? You've had pizza a lot, but like, when was the last time you had a corn dog? We're like, last time we came with you, Grandma. She's like, yeah, but I mean, that's been a while, right?
Other than all of those
Yeah, it's
times.
been a while, right? And then as soon as we get a corn dog, she's like, you're happy about this, right? This was a good choice, right? But they're so good, man. Oh, man. And they had just like Chick-fil-A, they had the lemonade, lemonade container that continuously circulated the lemonade,
Yeah.
They got the little fountain in there, and you're like, oh, that looks, I don't know what's going on in there, but I want a little piece of that, Just so good, Mike. Corn dog place. Boom.
Corn dog place.
And I remember like all the other places, like, there were other like Sbarro's, and then there was also an Arby's in there. There were a couple other big places. Sorry, Arby's, you didn't get the honorable mention. You are delicious, but you didn't get it. I did go there. It's pretty honorable for the curly fries. Let's be honest. That's pretty amazing.
Oh man.
But
top 3 fries.
Oh, so good. So good. But yeah, like I remember like all the other places, like, when the big movies of the summer would come out, they'd have the big promotions, you get the plastic cups with the value meal that had like Batman on it or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the corn dog place, because they weren't a chain, had no money. So theirs would just be like a dinosaur, just like around like, hey, look at our T-Rex cups. And you're like, all right, yeah, I guess T-Rex, cool. And then you get a little toy T-Rex with your value meal, and I'm like, worth it. Thanks corn dog place. So good. Anyways, Mike, your number 2.
My number 2, Chick-fil-A. It's definitely, for me, it's Chick-fil-A. I know these are all like the most, generic, but like when I worked in a mall, I ate Chick-fil-A like every day.
Where was what mall did you work? Or what
Millennia.
What place you work at though?
It was Brio, so I worked inside of a food place.
Oh, okay.
And then I worked.
Yeah.
So I worked at Brio.
So you had to get away from it.
Restaurant.
Yeah, get away from it.
In between a double or something that, I'd go get some Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A is amazing, man.
Always, yeah, it is.
And it's like I said, I mean, when I was a kid, that was the thing. That was always our go-to for a long time.
I was late to Chick-fil-A, man, like 20s, like early 20s.
Oh no, when I was the first time I had it, I was probably like 8, something like that. Yeah. And it was like back in the old school days. People, in any oldies out there, any old folks that are listening to the show right now, you'll be able to vouch for me. They used to have wood grain in all of their indoor, in the mall Chick-fil-A's. So it was wooded out because it was like, still from the 70s. Whole bunch of wood grain everywhere. And then they had this striped wallpaper that was just like stripes of red stripes going down it. And I'd just sit there and be like, oh, those off-toes are coming out any minute. Oh, I can't wait for it, man. Oh, and it was.
Oh, I felt like Sbarro's was always wood grain too. Sbarro's, if I remember correctly, it was
not my Sbarro's. The Sbarro's. I mean, they can always switch it up. But yeah. I mean, that was the thing, was Chick-fil-A was consistent from every single place. It had that same look to it, man.
Interesting.
They were in that franchise era, and I knew it. And then now they've jazzed it all up. Now it's fancy,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Regardless, my number one, again, just like my number two, it's generic. But the Chinese restaurant in Winston-Salem, at Haynes Mall, the place I was talking about. It's super generic Chinese food, It's I don't remember the name. Let's be honest. There's got to be either a panda or a garden involved. One of the two.
Something, yeah.
Maybe a wok. But one of those three things is in the name.
Wok is a popular name.
But it was one of the classic places. And let's be honest. If we're going to name it, we could have just named it what everybody got. It could have just been called fried chicken and goo. That's basically what you were getting.
Yeah.
But, Mike, this was so good. It was the you choose 2 entrees or you choose 3 entrees, and then you get noodles or fried rice. And they'd give you you get that big old styrofoam container, and they'd just pile it on in 3 of those with whatever, and oh god, they'd mound it down on there, and I'd be like, yes, oh yeah, that's so good. And then they'd put, oh man, and I'd get like 8 packs of soy sauce and just all over the whole thing, probably like 8 grams of sodium in that whole thing. Oh, it's so good, Mike. So good. And that place, it had so many good choices. The General Tso's chicken. Oh, get out. The Peking chicken. Mm-hmm. What? And somehow, Mike, you're not going to believe this, all of them were fried chicken. What? It's crazy. But, they were so good. So good. That was...
Yeah.
And it's just... it sounds stupid, but it was soul food, man. You just get there, and buy soul food. It was good for your soul, listeners.
Yeah, it was.
Cold day, you go in, you hit that up, and you're just like, you know what? I might just take a nap right here. Right here. Okay, this was back in the Young Buck days. You ate it, and you bounced off the walls, and you went somewhere else,
sure.
Now, I definitely would eat it and be like, and nap. And coma in my car.
Yeah.
But anyways, Mike, you're number one.
Same thing, Doc G. Chinese food, and I don't have any. Also for me, there's no specificity to the Chinese restaurant. It could have been a panda. It could have been some wok.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I think wok to Chinese restaurant names is like Geno's to a pizza restaurant.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. They're in like all of, but and just that you always feel like they take care of you because really the portion sizes are always way bigger than those little areas.
Yeah. They mound, like I said, they mound it up.
they take care of
but
you.
Like they're always doing it fast too. That's the thing. They're all efficient over there, and they're like, they're like, what do you want? And you say it, and they're like, whoop-pop, 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 and you're like, oh god, that looks good. Yeah. That is looking good. And that's the thing, too, is like a lot of places, when they got it out in front of you, it looks like It does. It's just like, you're like, but it never does at Chinese restaurants.
No way.
It just looks amazing, and I'm just like, oh, my God. There's so many choices. Which do I go with? I don't know. It's so amazing. And, yeah, I never, that was the thing, Mike. All the malls that I used to go to never actually had, a Panda Express. It was never like the actual name brand big.
Yeah, no, there was never a chain.
No.
I don't remember. No.
But that one at Winston-Salem, that was the best one. I've had a couple of them, and a lot of them were good, but that one was like, it's just, oh, man. And you know how salty that stuff was, because like literally 20 minutes after eating it, I'd be like, I got to get a water. Is there a water somewhere around here? I'm dying of thirst. Good Lord, it's crazy. But so
funny.
So good, Mike. So good. But anyways, we got to move on. We got Mike. Now next week we're doing the jerseys, right?
Yeah.
So next week we're doing jerseys of the NBA listeners. So
NBA
top
jerseys, yeah.
3 NBA jerseys.
Cool.
But Mike, before we wrap it up for today, 2 birthday suits. Do you want the? Well, both of them. I'm not like both. Both of these are pretty big people, but it's not in your wheelhouse. So I'm going to start with the actress first.
Okay, and then the country singer.
It's a college football player.
Okay, all right.
Or not football player. Sorry, college coach.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But it is the biggest coach of all time. So,
all right.
Anyways. Born on September 11th, 1970 in Washington, D.C., she was interested in acting from a young age. She got her first film debut after graduating from Howard University. She starred in the movie Streetwise in 1998. She then starred in Hustle and Flow, then in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, then in The Karate Kid, Think Like a Man, Hidden Figures, The Best of Enemies, The New Color Purple. She was even on the very successful show Empire, starring in the show Empire. And just this past week, she was promoting the new movie Fight Night, The $1 Million Heist. In 2019, she received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And this year, she was named by Time magazine as one of the 100 most influential people in the world. Name that birthday suit wearer.
No idea.
I'm going to give you initials, but I don't think it will help. T-H. And her middle initial is P, and she usually has that P in there.
Not a comedian, right?
Not a comedian.
Okay. T-H.
It's a pretty unique first name. Generic last name.
Yeah, no idea. I'm going to pass.
Taraji P. Henson.
Okay, good.
You know Taraji.
Happy I passed. No, I have no idea, man.
No. I mean, like, if you see her, you'll know her. Look her up. You have seen Taraji P. Henson.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. You know Taraji.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, man, at that fight night, the $1 Million Heist red carpet event, whew, she was letting it hang out, man.
Yeah.
She was getting risque
These are the first
there.
Images.
Yeah, she was getting. I mean, and you know what? You're looking good for 54, Taraji. You're looking real good. You know what? I'm not putting an age on it. You're looking real good.
Yeah.
The end. Not for 54. Looking real good. There you go. Happy birthday, Taraj. What? Okay. Here we go, Mike. This one, like I said, I don't know. Well, we'll see. Born on September 11th, 1913 in Cleveland County, Arkansas. He played football at the University of Alabama from 1933 to 1935. He then started coaching football. After several years of his coaching career, he went on hiatus because he served in the Navy in World War II, and he reached the rank of lieutenant commander. His first head coach position was at the University of Maryland. He then went on to the University of Kentucky. Then he went to the Texas A&M. Then in 1958, he took over as head coach at Alabama. During his time at Alabama, he was a 6 8-time national champion, a 14-time SEC champion, 11-time coach of the year, and considered to be the greatest football coach of all time. Name that birthday suit wearer.
Can I get initials?
Well, his nickname starts with a B, but his actual initials are PB. So he usually went by his nickname and his last name. They just called
Bobby?
him that. No.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to waste any time.
Paul Bear Bryant. The Bear. Bear Bryant. No, never heard of the Bear?
No.
You've seen him too. If you look up Bear, you've definitely seen his hat before. He wore a houndstooth hat all the time. Take a look. Bear Bryant.
Bear Bryant. Oh, yeah. He definitely... wow, it's so crazy. That hat is very iconic. It's 100%. So iconic. I have no idea who this guy is, but I definitely recognize that hat.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That houndstooth pattern is now just ingrained in Alabama culture because of that hat.
Yeah, why did he wear that hat? Is there a specific reason, or was it like a gift
Honestly, I don't know. You know what, Mike? I'm going to follow up. I'll let you know.
There's got to be a reason. I mean, it doesn't really work with a lot of his outfits. It's totally doesn't match anything.
Mike is a stylist. Well, I got to tell you, Paul, you're not really matching here, and I'm a little concerned.
I mean, it's pretty random on some of his outfits. Like, it's pretty, and it's just a loud hat.
I mean, come on. Take a look at that guy, though. Doesn't look like a guy that would really give a
No way, not at all. No way. Like, he definitely doesn't care, but...
Also, it's one of those things where you notice people prematurely aged a lot faster back in the day than they do now. Because he died when he was 69 years old, and he looks like he's 115 when he was 69. Yeah. Like, he just aged so fast. Crazy. But
he smoked a lot of cigarettes with, like, no issues.
He did smoke a lot of cigarettes, and he was an alcoholic. So
again, they were like, "What's the problem?"
He apparently, I read that before I wrote down my stuff, but I read that in his old Wikipedia page that he was an alcoholic. He checked himself into rehab, was sober for about 2 months, and it was like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that," and then just started drinking again.
Greatest coach of all time.
You talk, because there's plenty of his players.
He drank during games, too.
There are plenty of his players that are still alive, and it definitely didn't appear to affect his coaching or his love for his players. So, kudos to him in that way, you know? But anyways, happy birthday to Paul Bear Bryant. Happy birthday to Taraji P. Henson. And happy birthday to Ludacris, not Ja Rule.
Not Ja Rule.
Anywho, Mike, we need to wrap it up for this week. I have been your host, Doc G. With me is none other than Mikey Maximus, the Vernicus Charette.
Always a pleasure, Doc G. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And until next week, zip it up and zip it out.
Zip-a-doo-dah.